Welcome to the Tips for Your 20s podcast. My name is Becca and I am here today with the wonderful Molly to talk about running. Molly has created a community called These Girls Run. We talk about in this episode about how you can get into running, what competing is really like, and what being part of a community is like in your 20s when you want to start a hobby such as running. If you enjoyed today's episode, please give the podcast a follow and share with anybody else you think who might also enjoy listening. But for now, I hope you enjoy. Welcome to the podcast, Molly.
Thank you very much. Lovely to chat with you.
And you. I'm very excited to be talking about all things running related. I am a runner myself, and this was definitely an episode, a topic I wanted to be talking about. So thank you for joining us today.
You're very welcome. It's nice to be chatting about it on a Monday morning as well. I feel like it's setting me up for the week, for a productive week.
I know. Hopefully it will inspire us to do some great runs this week. Yeah. Let's start by talking about you and your running journey and where you started, as well as tell us about the community that you've created too.
Yeah, of course. So as you mentioned, my name's Molly. I probably started running, so I'm 24, 25 in a few weeks. And I probably started running when I was 16, 17. You know, when you go into sixth form or college and you're like, you're trying to figure out what you enjoy, what you want to do at uni, where you want to go. And I actually just started running mainly to get a bit of headspace and get outside and have a bit of independence as you're kind of moving through that transitional stage. So I really enjoyed running then in the countryside, and then kind of gave up running for a few years and got back into it a lot about a year or so before COVID, and just kind of fell in love with it again. I love like getting outside into the countryside and just getting that headspace. So I've probably been running properly for the last 4 years or so. But interestingly, I'd never done an actual like running organised event until a month ago. I've done marathons and half marathons, but always kind of on my own, which is, I think, why this need to bring a community of girls together came about. And so I've been a keen runner for ages. My granddad has run over 100 marathons. He's like lots of running medals in his bedroom. In my nana and granddad's bedroom, there's like pictures of him on the wall running. So I think running's always been like a talking point in the family, and he's obviously done loads. So it's like family and headspace, I think, is why I probably started it.
The community that you've created is called These Girls Run, isn't it? And did that sort of stem because of your love for running and you wanted others to sort of like experience that as well?
Yeah, definitely. So I started These Girls Run in September 2021. I was living in York and I was going out on runs. I'd just moved from London to York. I did a lot of running in London. Like, I really enjoyed running there. Came back to York, forgot how dark it gets in the evenings and how cold it gets in the evenings, and even in the mornings as well. And I thought I'd always run on my own. I thought I want to start running with other girls, want to make some friends. I think in your early 20s, you've left uni, you're like in your full-time job and you're trying to make friends, and it's difficult to make friends when you're out of that kind of social bubble. So I just popped a message in a Facebook group for girls who lived in York, and it was like, does anybody want to come for a run on a Sunday? And I think I got like 60 likes on it, which I was not expecting at all. I was probably expecting maybe 2 or 3 people. Obviously for the first run there wasn't 60 people there. I think there were maybe 7 of us. And we just met in York, went along the river, very casual, went for coffee afterwards. It's kind of just gone from there. So we have it in York and London now. I've moved back to London. So it's really nice that it carries on in York, set up in London, and there's just such a massive need for it. I hadn't realised at the time how many girls would want to get into running or run with other people. And it's just gone from there.
That's amazing. And I remember being at that point also where I was thinking I want to start running, and like where do I start in terms of the community and who do I go with? And a lot of the time I think you can want to do something, but because you don't have the people to support you or necessarily to guide you to make sure that you're doing it, right, then you can end up stopping or not continuing with it. Built that community, and I think it like helping so many other girls as well to take that first step. I'm all about this podcast showing the opportunities that we have to succeed in our 20s, and automatically we can sometimes think that has to be career related, and that has to be how much money that we earn to show what success is. But personally, for me, success as well is all about trying new things, and running in my life, having started a year ago, the success I felt from doing that has been huge. What are the benefits that you have found since you started running, and that you see the other girls in your community have too?
The main thing for me is just getting outside, getting away from my phone, and just being present is a massive personal benefit to me. And again, because I'd always run on my own, that was, I guess, the main benefit until I started running with other people. Then when I started running with the girls, it was about chatting to them, making friends, like seeing everything, like, oh, how was this event you had on Wednesday night? And actually just forming really strong friendships just based on purely chatting to them and finding things in common. That's been a massive benefit. And a lot of the girls who joined These Girls Run find it really good for the accountability as well, because it's a lot easier to show up if you know that you're gonna go and run with girls that are all supportive, they're all cheering you on, we all clap each other at the end when we finish the run, and it's something that they enjoy, rather than, I think, if you're getting into running or like any sport really, it's not going to be easy at the beginning. You're going to have to, your body needs to get used to it, your mind needs to get used to it. And it's just so much easier if there's other girls running right by you who feel exactly the same, and who can say, actually, yeah, I didn't want to come this morning, but now I'm here, I love it, and I feel so much better for it. So that group feel of accountability and just like making friends and actually wanting to see them and be them. And a lot of the girls join us because they want to see people rather than running being the first thing, which I think is really nice. I think that's a kind of testament to how well the group get on. And just again, in your 20s, there is this need for people to make new friends and like find new people if you're moving to a new city and everything. So yeah, there's so many benefits to it, and that I hadn't even realised when I just popped this message in a casual Facebook group.
Yeah, because a lot of people want to talk firstly about the sort of physical benefits, which there are so many benefits to it, but that running can be more than just how it makes you feel on the on how it makes our bodies feel. It's how it makes our minds feel. And I can definitely relate with that. Sometimes I go on a run and I completely zone out, actually to the point where it's probably quite dangerous because I forget how I've got from one place to another. So it's having that sort of space and your own hobby and interest that can make your mind clearer, you more focused. When I get back from a run, it's the endorphin release, and it's so much more than just the physical benefits.
Yeah, completely. Like I went on a run this morning, and even just sat here, I feel like I've got so much more energy because I've gone out and I've done, and I'm a morning runner. Not everybody has to be a morning runner. I'm doing that in the morning, and then before I start my working day, I know that I've done something for myself before I've then like logged onto my laptop and kind of got bogged down by emails. I have a full-time job, so it's just for me, it's just great to take that time for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I can't relate to the morning running. I'm not a morning runner. I've tried it. Like you said, we're all different and we all work differently, and I have tried morning running, and I can force myself to go sometimes, but I do find I don't have the same energy levels. But sometimes people like to make judgment about running as being a sport that is detrimental towards our knees and our joints and the impact that it has on our legs. What do you think that should put somebody off from starting running?
I don't think so, unless, I guess, the same with everything. If you feel like you've got an injury and your knee is really hurting and you think maybe running is going to make it worse, then absolutely not. But if you feel like you're starting from a good base and you've not got any aches or pains, there's nothing necessarily wrong with running. It's again, as with anything, if you build it up, bring in a bit of strength training. So what I've tried to do over the last few months is, as I've been training for an ultramarathon, so I've been trying to bring in some strength training into my running days. And as long as you're not just going from 0 to suddenly running 10k every day, then your knees and your whole body and your heart and everything gets a chance to get used to it and build it up. Strength training is amazing for helping to support your joints. even things like yoga and Pilates. So with These Girls Run, I try and do a holistic approach to running. So it's not just running. We do monthly yoga sessions, monthly Pilates sessions, because it's really important to strengthen and condition your body outside of purely running. So yeah, as long as you build it up, don't go from 0 to 100 straight away, then it shouldn't be an issue. So my advice would be for anybody who's maybe worried about that, and it's that's a completely fair worry, I would just go out for a few minutes run, see how your body feels, do a bit of a check-in, and then if you feel like, okay, I feel okay, then try giving it a go and see where you can get to.
I definitely have a few things as well to say on that one, because when I first started running, I wanted to get out and be the fastest and see progress straight away. And I remember going out and running about 5Ks a week, having not run for quite a while. I got shin splints, felt awful. I've seen it with a lot of people as well. You have to make sure that you ease into it slowly. I've seen it as well on a lot of people are training for London Marathon, and they're not realizing the amount of mileage you have to do, and then their bodies aren't getting used to it, and they're getting shin splints and they're feeling really uncomfortable. And I think the best thing you can do in that situation is, like you say, ease into it, listen to your body. And also I think if you are going to go and do a competition such as a marathon, like seek some advice from like a professional, even if that's just dropping somebody a message, because it's a lot of mileage. Like with your ultra marathon, how many miles was that?
So that was 36.2. I say the 0.2, I don't know why. It was 36.
It does count when you're running along. That 0.2, it really does mean something.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, 36.2. So it was 10 miles longer than a marathon, and I think about 60 kilometers. I always work in miles, but yeah, it's about 60 kilometers, and it felt like 60 kilometers.
I can imagine. Your training, what did that look like?
So I guess one thing that I want to stress at this point is, kind of like what I said earlier, I've been running probably for about 4 years, and when I say running, that's a few times a week. So I was already, when I signed up for the ultramarathon, I'd already run, I think, 2 marathons and a few half, but the training was intense. So there was a lot of running. I think I was probably running about 40 miles a week at one point at my most mileage. And you do have to make sacrifices. Like I did dry January, didn't really go out in January because my ultra was at the end of February. So again, it's one of those things where you have to build it up. So I booked on in September, and I knew that I had a good few months to build up my mileage, build up my resilience mentally, build up my strength training. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed the process of it. It was really nice to have something to work towards. And I think now I've finished it, I'm like, oh, what do I do next? What do I work towards next?
I think that's really interesting, though, that you said that you did dry January, because a lot of people will go for a run having had, a glass of wine or had a big heavy night the previous night and expect the run to make them feel incredible. But the reality is, if you're going to do those things, it might not make you feel the best when you are running, and it might put you off from continuing to run. I know in the past, not feeling top 100%, it can be quite difficult. And so learning to also the nutrition side of it as well is important too, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I guess it's just like learning, you almost have to be quite strict with yourself. I mean, when I ran my first marathon, kind of like what you've just said, I'd been out the night before, I think, to watch the Euro finals a few years ago. So I'd been to the pub and I woke up that morning and I thought, I'll give it a go. Again, this is because I'd run a lot. It wasn't an overnight thing. But yeah, when I noticed that not drinking in January, I had so much more energy and so much more motivation to run, because I knew that on a Sunday morning I was going to wake up at a good time and go out for a run, rather than wake up and feel groggy and force myself. I think when you sign up to, if it's a 5K, 10K, half, full, ultra, you need to enjoy the process. You don't want to feel like you're forcing yourself to do it. And I think running on a hangover is, for me, I've never enjoyed a run on a hangover, to be honest with you. Maybe I'll feel better afterwards, but it really helped not drinking. But it's all about balance, really. It's what helps you. I mean, a glass of wine isn't going to derail you completely, but yeah, it's all about finding what works for you.
Definitely, everybody's different and everybody can cope with different amounts, and running, you have to feel listen to your body, and it's how you feel, and can't necessarily compare yourself to somebody else saying, oh well, they can eat that and then feel, everybody's different. Even like us saying now you run better in the morning, and it'd be great if I could run in the mornings. It'd probably be better time management, but it's just not happening. That's how I work. But when somebody, we've spoken about the group and how it's so beneficial running as a group, and how you can talk and communicate with other people and just make friends. But how can you get to that point where you're in the group? How can you get started with running?
So I think it's little steps. You have to have a goal to work towards. So whether that's you want to run 1K or you want to run 5K, have that goal in your mind. It's all about, it's that manifestation in a way. You have to have that end goal so you've got something to work towards. My advice is always go outside, do a bit of a body check, run for a few seconds, see how you feel. Are there any aches or pains? And then run for a minute if you can, and then walk for a minute. Like, balance it out. Don't just think, oh, my body feels okay, I'll go and run 5K. You don't want to almost shock your body or scare your body and not want to do it again. So start small, build it up. If you can find a running buddy, try and run in a location where you feel comfortable, and where I always try and run where there's stuff that I want to look at. Sounds silly because you can't always do that, but if you're trying running for a first time, think about where's your favorite park, or where's your favorite area of the place that you live, and go there to run. That helps because it distracts you. There's something to look at. You feel more comfortable. So start small, find somewhere that you're comfortable to do it, and if you do have a buddy, then buddy up as well would be my advice.
I completely agree with you, and I feel like what I'm taking from that as well is sort of set your expectation that the first run that you do after having never run, you're not going to be, well, you most likely aren't going to be able to go and run a 10K under an hour, those sorts of things. It's really setting your expectation and making sure that you feel good and you're enjoying the process, so that you stick to it, rather than thinking that it's going to be really easy and that you're going to be able to do it. And it's even the same because during high school and college, I was running, but I wasn't running huge amounts, but I was running, and then I stopped running for a few years, and getting back into it, I sort of expected myself to be able to just go and run out and be amazing on the offset and absolutely smash it, and do exactly the same times as I was doing before. It's not the reality of it. So you're going to stick to it, and you're going to find it more enjoyable if you set your expectations at a level where, okay, we'll take each day as it comes, each run as it comes, and like you say, find a location that you enjoy running in, and make sure that you're feeling good at all times. I shared on my Instagram recently that when I went for a run, there was a van which had a couple of guys in, and they shouted at me through a window, and it made me feel really self-conscious when I was running, and it made me think that actually I'm not the only person that this has happened to, and I'm not the only person that feels that level of, oh, people are going to judge me when I'm running. How can we overcome that fear of judgment so that we can go and achieve our goals and continue running?
I think, first of all, I'm sorry that happened to you, and it's such a shame that that's happened to pretty much every girl I've spoken to at Run Club. And yeah, it's really sad that happened, and we can't do anything about it yet. But I think for me, whenever something like that happens, I will actually normally tell somebody, just from a safety aspect. I'd normally message my boyfriend and be like, by the way, this happened on my run, just for my own safety, but then somebody else knows. And then it is difficult to carry on running after that, especially I've always found it really difficult to run in the summer. I think last summer was the first time I'd properly run in shorts because I didn't feel confident to. And again, I've been running for years, and literally every summer I've always been hiding my legs away and like making myself so sweaty and uncomfortable because I didn't want to get my legs out. And it's that process of wearing shorts on a run took me probably 3 years to get to. So yeah, it's something that comes with time. I mean, I would have liked it not to have been 3 years, but I recognise that there's a process for it. And I think, again, it's like those little things. What makes you feel comfortable? Like so I have IBS and my stomach is quite bloated in the morning sometimes. And rather than putting on like really tight running gear, I'll think, no, what am I going to feel comfortable in? I'll put my leggings on, but then I might wear like a baggy jumper. Because if I feel comfortable in that baggy jumper and I'm not self-conscious about a little bit of stomach bloat, then I'll run better, I won't be distracted by it, and I'll feel less stressed and anxious. So it's all about like doing those little tweaks that make you feel comfortable. But I always think because I used to go to the gym a lot, I don't really anymore, but when I used to go to the gym, I was so self-conscious going there until I realised that everybody in that room is just as self-conscious as you are, that you're all there to better yourself. And so when you're looking in the gym, or when you're looking in the mirror in the gym, you're only ever looking at yourself, and you're not really looking at other people. And I think I kind of try to apply that to when I'm out running. I'm only really worried about how I feel and where I am, and oh gosh, have I taken the right turning, and actually just like enjoying being there. And I think you just have to remember that everyone else is the same in that aspect. Nobody else is out running to look at people. And it's a shame that we have problems with drivers by and them acting on us, but they're really community friendly, and just try to remember everyone out there is to make them feel better or look better or whatever it is, and that really selfishly only worried about themselves in matters that they're not going to be judging you. Hopefully they shouldn't be.
No, I agree. I think as well, like you just said then, reminding yourself of like the reason as to why you're running, so that you don't let things like that. I know we shouldn't have to deal with those things as runners, with people shouting at you, saying things, but if that does happen to you, you cannot control the fact that it's just happened to you. And it's sort of like switching back. Why am I doing this? Where am I going? Like you said, making sure that you're letting somebody know where you are. And unfortunately, these things happen, but you're doing this to better yourself. You're not doing this to harm anybody, to affect anybody else. It's about you and your own journey. And I think reminding yourself that, so that you can flick back in. But even people who aren't, in a van shouting at you as you run by, there will always be people making judgment as to you're running too much, too little, your journey and that you're on. And some people don't like it because it's jealousy, because they are not taking step as well. But you definitely have to remind yourself that you're on your own path, and that else to somebody else, or letting somebody else dictate how you run and what you do, is not going to benefit you in any way. Have you had people before telling you, oh, you're not doing it right?
Yeah, I think I did when I was probably about a year or so ago. I did run in York, and I had somebody comment on the way that I was running, but I kind of thought, I've been running that way for years now and it works for me. So you just have to remember, it just goes back to, again, what works for you, whether it's a baggy jumper, whether it's, I wear a cap when I run sometimes if I'm tired because it hides my face a bit. So it's about doing what works for you. And it's, if people are passing judgment on how you're running, definitely listen to it and reflect on it and think, actually, have they got, is there any learnings I can take from that? But actually, if it's something that you don't feel like you need to take into your running, then just carry on doing what you're doing. If it's working for you, then that's fine and that's great.
I've seen it with athletes though, that are, going to the Olympics. They're told, oh, your running style is wrong, or
exactly.
They get criticized, and it's like, well, they wouldn't be where they are if they were doing it wrong, and they wouldn't be so successful. So it's definitely, how does it make, if you're running in a way that's maybe making your legs feel sore, and somebody's saying, oh, that's not right, like you say, then reflect on that and go, actually, they might have a point, that it that's when you go and seek advice, maybe from like a running company. I got my first pair of shoes and I always do, actually, from a running company that you can test on a treadmill, and they can sometimes as well how you're running, and being able to sort of provide you with a pair of shoes as well that fit properly. How can we ensure that running becomes something that we do regularly to keep fit, and it isn't just something that we go, I want to start running, you go out once or twice or for a couple of weeks and then you stop?
So I think, first of all, you need to recognize why you want to run. I've had times where I've just been running to lose weight or to look better. And whenever that's been the case, I've never enjoyed my runs because they felt like a punishment. And you kind of disassociate from what you're doing, and you're thinking more about how you look rather than actually enjoying the process. So think about why you're doing it. Is it to lose weight? Is it to look better? Or is it actually to get that headspace, or run to a new area of your city, or meet friends? So definitely think about that. And then have a think about how can you build it into your life as it is. Because for a habit to form, it needs to be something that is easy to do. Not saying that running is easy, but it needs to be something that putting your trainers on and leaving the house at a time that's easy for you. So my example is in the mornings, I wake up, I'm naturally an early riser, not all the time, but most of the time. So I know that I perform better in the mornings. And you've said yourself, you know that you perform better in the evenings. So have a think about when is most convenient. It might even be a lunchtime run. You know, if you're working from home, if you're a shift worker, maybe it's like just before you start your shift. Or even something I want to do in the summer is start running to the office. So 2 days a week, I'm going to run to the office, because then I'm at work and I've ticked off my run. So, and it's in the morning. So that for me is perfect. So have a think about so why, when, and then also, I guess, how, like, what do you want to wear? What feels comfortable? Like, I love Sweaty Betty's activewear, and I'm like I love baby pink, like baby blue, all those nice colours. So I actually go and get some clothes that I like and that I feel comfortable in. So there's a few different aspects to it, but I think for any habit to form, you need to feel comfortable, and it needs to be something that you allow yourself the space and time to do. So don't all of a sudden start running 20 miles, well, not 20 miles, but don't start running a lot of miles at a time that doesn't work for you, because you're going to get exhausted. You're not going to be able to do that regularly. It needs to be something that's healthy and is easy to fit into your life as it already is.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And something you touched on earlier was obviously that accountability as well, that can be helpful, even if that's downloading Strava with a few friends and being able to see them, because whenever I see somebody else running, I'm like, it motivates me to, or joining a community like yours where you've got other like-minded people. I joined an athletics club a few months ago, and I've really enjoyed that, being around other people. I've been a solo runner for quite a while, and so it was a big jump for me to take to then running with other people, because I thought I was going to compare myself a lot more, but actually it's held me more accountable. I know every Tuesday evening I go along to athletics club, I know what I'm doing, and I have a chat with the people about what sort of races we've got coming up, our normal lives, and it's just so much more enjoyable, and that's become a habit in itself. But yeah, for anybody who doesn't really want to go and find a community or join a club, definitely I would recommend downloading Strava and with other people on there, even if it is just friends and family. You can also create I've seen recently clubs, I think, on there of
you can. It's really good.
I know some people find it quite difficult with the comparisons, but I think that there's as long as you remind yourself of who you are and what journey you're on, there's no reason as to why it should stop you from being able to post the runs that you're on and enjoy that process. And I think that leads me on really nicely to having like a purpose for your running, because that helps with habit. If you're going to go and do, let's say, the London Marathon, and you've built up that habit of going for a run every day, and then you do the event afterwards, you might have lost your purpose. And like you said, if you're going to go and do if you're going to go running and it's to lose weight, once you've lost that weight, how are you going to continue to continue running and make that progress? What would you say about having a purpose and why people are doing it?
Yeah, I completely agree on the marathon side of it and the losing weight side. I've just done my ultra a month ago, and genuinely the last few weeks I have struggled to run, because I'm like, why am I running now? Like, I love running and I will carry on doing it, but I've kind of lost that main purpose. So yeah, you 100% need that. And it's like with anything, you need a goal to work towards. And I'd never signed up for an official running event until this ultra, because it always daunted me, like, having a specific date and knowing that on the 13th of March I'm going to run a marathon. It always daunted me a bit. But actually what I found is having that, it gives you that purpose and the accountability that you really need. So yeah, I think purpose is so important. But again, you just need to find what's the right purpose, because again, if you're running to lose weight, you're probably not going to enjoy it as much as you would like to. And I think with anything you do to try and change the way you look, how sustainable is that? Just think about how much are you having to run to lose this weight, and can you actually do that over a sustained period of time? Probably not. It needs the purpose. Ultimately, the purpose for me with running is always to just try and enjoy it. And don't get me wrong, like I've had lots of runs where I've not enjoyed them, but I try and balance that out with runs that I do enjoy as well.
Yeah, and I like that you being like honest there. We can glamorize running sometimes and everybody's really happy all the time, but I went out for a 10-mile run yesterday and it was pretty horrific. And I remember saying in my head, one foot in front of the other, just keep going, like just keep getting through it, because it isn't always easy to continue going through. And you have to make sure that you're being, again, realistic with yourself. I have a running coach because that's how I have stayed accountable. So we catch up every, I think it's 2 weeks. And at first when I started running, I was like, I need to have something on the whole year round. And he very rightly said to me, you cannot be at 100% the whole year round. So I have periods of time where I'm training for a race, but then I have, 4 weeks where it might be a little bit slower and I have nothing to train for, but I'm doing less mileage, and it's very very slow. So my purpose changes throughout the year, but I like to plan out the year and when I've got things on so that I have something to look forward to and that I stay on track, but at the same time it's all realistic and it's not going out 100 miles per week. And then not enjoying the process, and then my purpose is sort of gone in that way. Talking about events and races, I've done now 2 half marathons, quite a few 5Ks, 10Ks, and at the moment I am training for another half marathon in June. So that's on my agenda. You have spoken about an ultra marathon that you have done. Is there anything else that you've got in the pipeline, and what can you say about competitions and your experience with them?
So I guess my experience with the competitions is, even though I've been running for so long, kind of like what I said, I've always been a bit apprehensive and a little bit scared of signing up. Part of the reason why I set These Girls Run Up was because I was in York, like Googling running clubs, and every picture or running club that came up was just a group of middle-aged men in very tight lycra, and I was like, this isn't necessarily the club I want to be running with. I don't feel like I can relate to that. And I think that was kind of a barrier that I had with signing up to events as well, because I'd always thought you needed to be like an elite athlete to do these kind of events, and you needed all the high vis and all the gear and everything. And I just kind of thought it wasn't a space or a place for me. So there's definitely been some apprehension there. But my experience of the ultramarathon was genuinely only good. Like the event was amazing. It was really good. Well, I say only good. It was massively difficult. But in terms of the organisation of signing up to an event, that was when I realised the benefit of doing an organised event, because not only did I get a nice medal and you get the balloons at the end, but actually on the way round we got food every 10k, every 6 miles or so. They had little biscuits and sweets to keep you going. They had water. They had people cheering you on, and it was actually a really emotional day for that reason, because not only are you tired, and the run was exhausting, mentally exhausting, physically exhausting, and there's no sugarcoating that I can do on that side of it. But just running around and having people like toot their horns in a nice way at you and saying, like, clapping out their windows who didn't even know you, and people. It was along the coast, so people were kind of stood outside of their houses clapping everyone on as well.
You're giving me goosebumps.
I know, honestly, I'm like tearing up thinking about it. But yeah, that was such a massive benefit to me of an event. And loads of these girls run are actually signing up to the London Marathon, Manchester Marathon, halves. And I think I hadn't actually realised how normal it is to do events now. I think my fear of turning up and looking like the odd one out isn't there anymore, because all of the girls in the group have signed up to a 5k or a 10k or a full or a half. And that, I think that like elite athlete stigma of events and competitions is slowly going as it gets more accessible and all these events and fun runs come up. So I do think that the running community is changing. It feels like less of an elite club now, and it is more something that if you want to, you can work towards, which I think is a great thing.
I completely agree, and my experiences again have been like the same. They've been so inclusive, and it's such a nice feeling. And when you're having a tough time, having people to cheer you on, you don't get that on your normal training runs. There's no one.
Exactly.
Also, you have to carry things with you. I think for anybody who is worried about like taking that next step to go for a competition, one of the best things that I ever did was join Park Run. Now, Park Run is not a race every Saturday, but you know what, it gives you the environment for a group setting of people, starting when there's maybe a horn, and you get a time which is very similar to what you'd get in a race that you might sign up for. And it's a really another way of meeting people, but it also gives that better idea of an environment as to what a race would be like. Even though it is a race, you can walk, you can jog, you can walk and jog, and there's so many people that do that one. So I can thoroughly recommend that as a starting place if you're worried about taking the next step into doing a competition. If it seems quite big, definitely do a Park Run, and then hopefully you can get a taste as to what it's like. Have you done one before?
I've not actually, and again, this just goes back to my latent fear of joining events. I think I 100% would now, but I think just because I do these girls run every Saturday morning in London, it's not something that I can like go to. But
these girls need to go on tour to a Park Run.
Yeah, I know, definitely. Yeah, I know. People always are a bit shocked when I say I've never done an event or like a Park Run or anything, but I am now. I'm over the fear.
And that's absolutely fine, but the community that you've created and getting everybody together, like that's your purpose at the moment, and that's what you're working on. And like even me sitting there thinking, how could you have not done a Park Run and things like I'd only ever done mine for the first time, last year. Everybody is different, and we're on our own journey. Everybody, you can't assume that the next person that runs wants to do races, that wants to compete, or that doesn't want to do those things, because that's everybody else's sort of journey and what they want to do. I feel like this leads me really nicely, and I'm really sad because I could talk about running more, but your community, These Girls Run, where do you want to take it next? I know that you've got some events coming up and things like that. Let us know how can we find you, things like that.
Yeah, so I've been very fortunate that These Girls Run has grown quite a lot over the last 2 months or so. Like what you said, my purpose for running, and just like honestly all I think about is These Girls Run at the moment, because I love it. I love all the girls that come. They're all just amazing women, and they're all so friendly, and it gives me so much purpose. We actually announced our event yesterday with Misha Grimes that we're doing. She's an influencer, like amazing girl. We're doing an event with her in May to raise money for the Motor Neuron Disease Association, and we sold 75 tickets in less than 12 hours, which is crazy. So again, I feel like running is having a bit of a moment at the moment, which is great. Loads of girls are wanting to get into it. So my next step for These Girls Run is to just try and add more sessions to our timetable. Really want to expand to new cities as well. We've got one in mind that I'm hoping to start from soon, but it's just having the time to set that up properly. But yeah, I want to basically expand the locations so that more girls can get involved, grow the community, and start to bring our our regular runners on board as These Girls Run ambassadors, so that they can start leading their own runs. Because there's a girl, one of our ambassadors in London, I won't say her name, but she's fantastic. She joined right at the beginning when we set up in London, and I knew straight away that I wanted her on board to help out. And actually, when I asked her if she wanted to be an ambassador, she was quite nervous about it and apprehensive, because she's not been running for that often. She's not been running for a while. She's fairly new to the sport. But I think the great thing is she now feels comfortable and empowered to lead these runs. So I want to grow the community, get more ambassadors on board, and kind of just show women that running can be for them if they've never ran before. It's not something that has to be scary. Like, you can run and stop. Like, you don't. I think a lot of people think that if they go on the run, they have to just run for the whole time. But what we do with These Girls, when we did a run up a little bit of a hill on Saturday, and we stopped at the top and we were like, oh, we'll have a breather and then we'll carry on. So yeah, I want to grow it.
You can definitely still inspire people by, even if you're not the most in fastest runner, you don't have to be breaking world records to be somebody that people look up to as a runner. You know, there's people that are not running at all that might look up to somebody else and go, oh, they're getting out and getting some steps, and I want to be able to do that. I want them to help me to reach my goals too. There's definitely too much pressure put on having to be a certain level before you can inspire other people to run, but actually just getting outside and sharing your journey and sharing what you're doing through These Girls Run is so important, and it's inspiring other people to start running regardless of what level you're at.
Yeah, exactly. That's completely it. I think it's just trying to empower women that running can be for them is the main thing, and also making it a more of a holistic thing rather than just running, like going for coffee, going for brunch, doing yoga and Pilates. It makes it more engaging, and it helps to build those friendships as well. So you're not just chatting to people when you're a bit out of breath in the park. You can chat over a coffee as well.
Oh, I love that. Oh, well, I'm so excited to continue on your journey. Hopefully I can come along to a run as well. I'd love that. That'd be really nice. And yeah, I'm really excited to see where it will take, and your event did you say it was in May?
Yeah, beginning of May. Yeah.
Out for that, and hopefully in the future, if there's some other events, people will be able to attend to. Where can people find you?
So we have our Instagram page, which is at these_girls_run. And then we also have a website, thesegirlsrun.co.uk. And in the interest of safety, so These Girls Run is all about safe, sweaty and supportive. We have private Facebook groups for the cities that we work in. So if you live in London or York, just search These Girls Run York or London on Facebook, and you can join there. And that's where a lot of the girls will ask, I live in this part of London, These Girls Run isn't there, does anybody want to join me? And it kind of, you can meet new girls, ask questions, ask what trainers you should buy, all that kind of stuff.
Love that. That sounds amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Hopefully we've inspired somebody to get outside and take a run maybe today. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
That's all right. Thank you for having me.